Why I say it's good that Donald Trump was convicted. All 34 counts. It's good because, well, first of all, I love that Jocko video where every time something bad happens, he says, good, I'm glad that happened. Now I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to get better. I think that's biblical. I think that comes straight out of James, where it says, count it all joy when you experience various trials, knowing that it's being used. God's using it to perfect us, make us perfect and complete, teach us perseverance. On a more practical level, this is good because, listen, this has been happening to other people for a long time. If Trump had been acquitted, people would have thought, well, the system works. Everything's okay. See, he had his day in court, and everything's fine. He didn't get convicted. That's what people would think. It's just like when the praying grandma, Rebecca Lawrence, when she had to go to D.C. and be put on trial, a sham trial by these Marxist, I don't know, there's no nice way to say it. When they manipulated the trial in order to get a conviction of the praying grandma for praying in the Capitol for 10 minutes, we knew that the system was broken. Right? When they prosecuted a pro-life activist for supposedly assaulting someone when he was literally protecting his son, and they barged into his home at 5 o'clock in the morning, guns pointed on his children, and then they prosecute him. When those kind of things are happening to average Americans, when you have people that are in jail right now, in the gulag in Washington, D.C., who have been in solitary confinement for 2 of the last 3 years without a trial, you know that due process is dead in America. The problem is people haven't realized that it's dead. It hasn't happened to them. So if you haven't been on the receiving end of this evil, you don't realize that it's there. You think the system still works. You think truth, justice, and the American way is still happening. It's not. And so when a guy like Donald Trump, the most watched, most listened to man on the planet, gets prosecuted / persecuted in this way, a trial is one thing. Everybody thinks, he'll be, it'll be not guilty. They're just harassing him. It shouldn't happen, but it's happening. They're doing it to keep him off the campaign trail, but it'll all be okay in the end. When he gets found guilty of 34 counts, when you have a judge that is so compromised, so corrupt, that his own daughter is profiting from the trial, when he's an absolute Democrat hack who is only allowing things to get in front of the jury that's going to help the prosecution with their corrupt, unconstitutional, violating the statute of limitations, all the stuff that they're doing, when all of that is going on and everybody's just kind of not even paying attention, doesn't really care, once the verdict is guilty, all of a sudden people wake up. All of a sudden it's no longer hypothetical. All of a sudden they start having images in their mind of the President of the United States in a jail cell. The President of the United States having to run for president from a jail cell, the Secret Service having to figure out how they're going to provide protection to the President of the United States in a prison. When that starts happening, people start paying attention. And that's why I say good. Because now, and I don't mean good for Donald Trump. I think this is horrific what's happening to him. I think this is one of the greatest, maybe the greatest legal travesty that we've seen. And no, not the greatest. There's been some really bad ones that for an average Joe person that does not have the platform that Donald Trump has, it's all bad. There's no upside. I think there's an upside on this for Donald Trump. But it is bad and evil and wrong what's happening to him. No question about it. But it's good for the country to have to finally face our demons. We have to finally face how broken our system is. And for those of us who have been in this fight for a long time, for those of us who love the Constitution and love the law, who have been grieving over the fact that our legal system has been so rigged for so long, who know what it's like to have the system trying to destroy your life, and you don't have the money or the resources or the platform to fight back, all of which Donald Trump does have. Thank God. I'm glad that he does. But for those of us who have been on the receiving end of this in the past and not had those things, there's not much you can do. You feel the weight of tyranny and the boot of government on your neck and the helplessness of being unable to fight back. Well, Donald Trump has everything it takes to fight back. And the fact that they found him guilty is going to make millions of Americans wake up and pay attention to this for the first time, I think it settles the election in November. I mean, this is going to cause so many more people to come to Donald Trump's side. This is, I've actually said this for about a year now, that all of these attacks on Donald Trump, all of these trials, all of these charges are actually going to cause him to win the Republican nomination. I didn't know until now that whether or not it would help him to win in November. I do absolutely think it's going to help him in November, not hurt him. So I think it is vitally, vitally important that we recognize what this does in terms of the good. It wakes up people. It amplifies the evil. It brings sunlight to the corruption that's been happening underneath for decades. And we've had corrupt DAs across this country for decades. I was on the receiving end of this 20 years ago at a much smaller level. I've watched people's lives be destroyed. And then since January 6th, it's been amplified to the nth degree, the evil that they've been willing to perpetrate on truly, not helpless, but truly innocent people. And then people that are guilty of smaller crimes, things that should require some sort of punishment, but very little compared to what they've actually received. It is absolute evil, and it is destruction of the things that made America great in the first place. Can we just stop for a minute and realize why Donald Trump's theme is Make America Great Again? It's Make America Great Again because America was the greatest nation in the history of the world. There is no doubt about it. Most powerful, most free, most benevolent nation the world has ever known. There's a reason that America had all the inventions and all of the prosperity. There's a reason that we exported most of the missions around the world. We took care of people around the world. We exported the gospel around the world. We made other nations, helped other nations come out of poverty and helped them to adopt free enterprise systems and constitutional republics and things that bless them. We were the greatest nation on the planet. And we watched our nation be transformed into a third world banana republic because the Marxists got control of the legal system. And once they were able to use the power of government to put the boot of government on the neck of average, ordinary American citizens, that greatness was gone. Once the people that believed that power was more important than right or wrong, that there is no truth, that it's just about power, no moral absolutes, the Declaration of Independence was hated by these people. They've been trying to destroy it for years. The idea that we hold these truths, that there's a creator, that we have rights given by God, not by government. They mock us for believing that. They call us nasty sounding names like Christian nationalist or dominionist or whatever. And then they tell us the reason they call us that is because we have the nerve to think that our freedom comes from God and not from them. Not from not from government, and not from these elitists that believe they know better than us and they should be able to control our lives. They should be able to micromanage everything that we do, from our property to how we raise our children to our health care and what we inject in our bodies. These people are the height of arrogance and evil, and they have the power to destroy our lives. And they're trying to do it to Donald Trump, and I say good because it highlights it and makes everybody realize if they can do it to him, they can do it to me. And so for those who have not been on the receiving end of injustice, those who have not had the boot of government on their neck, for the first time in their lives, they're looking at this and going, if they can do it to that guy, they can do it to me. And they're waking up. Why do you think Donald Trump had, whatever it was, 25,000 people in the Bronx the other day? Why did he have 100,000 people at his other rally? Why are people coming out of the woodwork that are Democrats saying enough is enough, I'm done with this? Why are they flocking to Donald Trump? Because the left has made him the poster child for what can happen when a nation goes off the rails and becomes a third world power-grabbing entity. And I say good. Because we needed this wake-up call. People like you and me, we've been screaming this from the rooftops for years, and some have been listening, but since 2020, millions have been listening. And after today, tens of millions will be listening. And it will give us the momentum we need to take our country back. And I know that phrase scares you to death if you're one of these wimpy, be nice Christians that thinks that we're not supposed to be salty. Well, if we're going to be salt and light, we got to be salty. We got to be willing to get in the fight. We got to be willing to dig deep, say the things that need to be said, sometimes in anger. I think if there's a time to be righteously angry, today is one of those days. This is no day to be nice. Speak the truth in love. Well, sometimes love is tough. Sometimes it's tough love that saves your child from going off the rails and destroying their lives. And sometimes it's tough love that saves your nation from going off the rails and destroying everybody, not just America. We're the last best hope. There's no doubt about it. And if we go down, where are you going to go for freedom in this world? We will enter what Ronald Reagan said would be 1,000 years of darkness. And so if we don't wake up, if these kinds of things that are happening right now to Donald Trump do not wake up enough people, then we're headed into a tough times period that could last generations. And I know I've said it a million times, but for those of you that might be hearing me for the first time, we are just now entering the tough times. This is just a little glimpse of how bad it can be. The cycle of nations is tough times making for tough men make for good times make for soft men, and soft men make for tough times. And we've had it so good in America for so long that we've become soft. And we've been unwilling to come to the aid of those who have been abused over the last couple of decades in our justice system. We've been unwilling to stand with those who needed us to defend them. We've been unwilling to be the defenders of the defenseless, unwilling to be the terror to the terrorist, unwilling to be dangerous. We've played it safe because of the good times. And the good times has made us so soft as a nation, such snowflakes, that we've been unwilling to stand when needed. And now we're watching our justice system be turned on its own people. We're allowing people in power to destroy lives. We allowed, over the last 4 years, those in power to kill millions of people through their bad policies and through their power grab, just because they wanted to micromanage everything in everyone's lives. They silenced those who could have saved millions of lives through treatments. And they forced policies on people that caused millions of lives to be lost. That was just child's play compared to what can happen. Look at what happened in the last century in nations where this was not stopped. Where Hitler came to power, where Stalin came to power, Pol Pot, you go down the list, you go down the list of these tyrants. 100 million people died in the last century because of it. Can you imagine if those types of people end up in total control of the United States of America, the most powerful nation in the history of mankind? If the evil Marxists get control, complete control of this nation, right now they have control in many ways, but we have just enough power to stop them from going completely off the rails, and we have a window of opportunity now to hopefully reverse their power and reverse what they've been doing to the nation. But just imagine for a moment, if they get the kind of control that Hitler had, if they get the kind of control that Stalin had, unlimited power, no checks and balances, no ability to say no. Right now, up until now, the individual has been attacked. The individual has been persecuted and prosecuted where they could not defend themselves, and they have had to live with that, sometimes die because of that. Now you're getting close to where they have the kind of power to do that to the whole nation, like Hitler did with Germany, like Stalin was able to do. That can and will happen in the United States of America if we don't stop it. And the conviction of Donald Trump on absolutely bogus charges with strung together statutes and an out-of-date statute of limitations and a corrupt Soros prosecutor and a corrupt judge, because of that happening to Donald Trump today, we have a chance for that to wake up enough Americans to prevent it from happening to everyone in America. Donald Trump himself has said over and over again, they're not after me, they're after you, and I stand in the way. So he knows that what he's doing right now, he's taking the lumps for us. He knows he is being persecuted and prosecuted for us. He's standing right now in the way of them totally taking over. And not just Donald Trump, Rebecca Lovrance, all of these J6 defendants, anyone that has stood up for truth and been attacked by the left. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do in this moment of truth, this inflection point where we are watching our nation teeter between liberty and tyranny? What are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Is this going to be enough to make you get off the sidelines and not just complain about what's happening, but actually do something about it? Is this kind of abuse of power going to be enough for you and me to say, you know what? I've had the good times. These are not the good times anymore. And we're fooling ourselves into thinking it's still the good times. People are still out there just playing golf and you know, having a great time and pretending that nothing's going wrong. There are people out there that are actually thinking, oh, Donald Trump probably just deserved this. You know, I never liked his tweets anyway. They finally got the guy. You know, maybe now we can be done. There are people that are actually thinking like that. They have no idea what's happened here. They have no idea just how bad this is for the country. They have no idea how corrupt the justice system is. It's like, you know, I mean, my goodness, speaking of golf, look what just happened to Scotty Scheffler. I mean, this guy's did one of the nicest guys in professional sports, and he's been going through hell for the last couple of weeks because of an out-of-control police officer and then a justice system that it took him a few weeks. Now, thankfully, the prosecutor in this case did the right thing and said, obviously, I've reviewed all the evidence. There's nothing here. That's how the justice system is supposed to work. So maybe I need to be saying the good, the bad, and the ugly like we used to do on this Facebook Live or Front Porch Live, because mostly bad and ugly, but that one came out today, and that's a little bit of good. That's showing you that the justice system can work. What are we going to do about it? What do we do between now and November? What do we do with a bunch of corrupt prosecutors and judges that are in power right now? What do we do with the Department of Justice? You talk about, you know, they say you can't fight City Hall. Forget City Hall. The Department of Justice is a massive behemoth. The FBI? Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm telling you, a couple years ago when we first started speaking out against the FBI, we got phone calls saying, don't do that. Got people in very high positions of power saying, hey guys, don't do that. You don't understand how powerful they are. You don't understand how quickly they can destroy your life. Which, of course, made us double down. Made us say, oh, well, all the more reason to stand up and say no. So what are we going to do since they already have so much power? How do we respond to a corrupt system that is corrupt enough to take down someone as powerful as Donald Trump? Actually, I don't think they've taken him down. They think they have. They think they've gotten a good shot across the bow here. I believe that it's going to make him even stronger. This is an Obi-Wan Kenobi moment. They've struck him down. He's going to rise even stronger. You know, listen, Trump is not the savior. Okay, don't get confused by what I'm saying. Trump is a man, and he's a politician, and he's a person that is in a position of power who is actually quite selfish, and in many ways it's all about him, right? We know that, okay? He's got his narcissism just like anybody else in politics. But the fact that they're doing this to him is going to make him more powerful. It's going to cause more people to rally to him, and that is good. He is the only guy in America that I know of that could withstand all of this and turn around and still win the election and have the gumption to go clean house at the DOJ and a lot of these agencies. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Rick, wait a minute. He just praised the FBI for their new building because he's the one that pushed the new building through. Again, it all comes back to him, right? I know what you're thinking. If he's going to do that, how could he possibly reform the FBI or the DOJ? And I don't have a good answer for that. I think it's absurd that he's praising the FBI and giving, supporting the idea of this new building. That should have been defunded by the Republicans in Congress. Shame on the Republicans in the House for continuing to fund the abuse of our American people through these federal agencies. But I have come to believe that Donald Trump is actually a master at this game of politics. I've seen some masters at this game. I mean, I think Barack Obama was a master at the game, and continues to be. In fact, I still think he's the guy pulling the strings for Joe Biden. I think Ronald Reagan was a master at how to play this game, at knowing how to use the right rhetoric, and sometimes use rhetoric that was causing people to go look over here while he's getting things done over here. I think Donald Trump's the same way. I think he knows how to say something that gets you going this way, and over here he's actually solving the problem. And so my prayer is that's exactly what's going on with his praise of the new FBI building. And if that's the case, then I think this conviction, again, is good, because this is going to add fuel to the fire. This is guaranteeing. You know how they radicalize people? You talk about people being radicalized. Like, we always hear stories of some, Middle Eastern kid whose parents get blown up in some attack, and it's the CIA from America, or it's Israel or whoever, and that kid goes on to become a terrorist, for whoever. I mean, you hear stories like that, and they make movies like that. Or some, anyway, Donald Trump is being radicalized for the Constitution. That's what I think is happening right now. Donald Trump is being radicalized to be so passionate about due process and free speech and freedom of the press and all of the things that he's seen be abused. He's being radicalized to be a champion for due process. This is essentially how it works. I mean, why was it that Jefferson gave 27 grievances that then we would create in the Constitution protections to prevent them from ever happening again? So in the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson talks about the abuse when he says that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, what ends? What he had just said, we owe these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, government instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of government. All of that, the ends that he's talking about are truth, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Consent of the government means the ability to give or refuse consent. So right now, we have a government that is destructive of these ends, destructive of life, destructive of liberty, destructive of the pursuit of happiness, preventing you from doing what you want with your property, with your business, destructive of consent of the government because they're manipulating the election process to where we can't even know whether or not our elections are secure, destructive of the ability to participate in giving or refusing consent. How do you give consent if you're going to be arrested for simply showing up and peacefully protesting? I mean, they are destructive of the ends. So what Jefferson say, when they're destructive, when any form of government is destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. Now, I'm not for abolishing. I'm for abolishing certain departments of government, but not for abolishing our system of government. I'm not for in any way abolishing these things, but I am for altering them back to what they were designed to do. And that's what I believe Jefferson was telling the American people to do. Now, of course, he goes on to say, prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. Accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they're accustomed. We're in that moment right now. The American people have suffered. Wait, let me take that back. Some of the American people have suffered and just said, it's not that bad. You know what? I'm paying 40% in taxes or 50 or 60%. It's not that bad. I'll suffer while these evils are sufferable, right? We've watched our fellow Americans suffer at the abuse of the federal government in the justice system or by these Soros DAs, and we've let it go. We've suffered while those evils were sufferable. We've watched people be absolutely harassed by their own government. And you've allowed the government to micromanage your property, and we suffer through it, thinking if I can just get this permit and just get this done, then I can move to the next thing. We're having to do that at Patriot Academy right now with our campus. We're suffering while the evils are sufferable. But then his next line. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing inevitably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such governments and institute new forms. Folks, that's where we are. It's a long train of abuses and usurpations. Now is the time to alter it back to what the Founding Fathers intended. And that's why I say Donald Trump guilty on 34 counts, good. Because that evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. Do you see what I'm saying? The conviction of Donald Trump shows people that we're in that moment when he says that a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing inevitably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism. What else could this be? When you take out the political opposition, the leader of one of the two major parties in the country, the nominee for president of the United States, the nominee for the most powerful man on the planet, the former president, when you do everything in your power to take out that person so that your party can stay in power, that is evincing a design to reduce us under absolute despotism. It is our right, it is our duty to now give of our lives, fortunes, and sacred honor like never before. This is the inflection point and the moment where you and I must commit, pledge to each other our lives, fortunes, sacred honor. And that means I'm asking you, more than ever before, quite literally, give up the game of golf. Sell the car, sell the extra rental house, whatever it is, and start investing everything you've got right now into saving the country. Because now is the time. 2024 is the time. If we don't do this now, we're not going to have a country to save. Now is the time for you to start a Constitution class in your home. I know I sound like a broken record, but if you're not doing a Constitution class in your home or your church right now, you're not doing everything you could be doing to save the country. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt what happens when you start a Constitution class. When you do biblical citizenship or Constitution Alive or one of our other classes in your home or your living room, it creates a momentum in your community. And we need these brush fires of liberty all over the nation in order to turn this thing around. So even if you don't take over your school board or turn your city council around right now, immediately tomorrow, what you're doing is creating a brush fire of liberty that together with the rest of these, quite literally thousands, tens of thousands of brush fires of liberty right now through Patriot Academy are being started all over the nation. We have thousands of classes. We have 1 million people that have been through. If we do not put 4 million more people through these classes and have 10,000 candidates and 100,000 coaches in the next 2 years before the 250th birthday of this document, I believe we're done. I think that's the measurement of whether or not we responded to the moment. This is the inflection moment right now. Donald Trump guilty on 34 counts, absolute sham of a trial, and it's waking up everybody to realize there's been thousands of these sham trials convicting average Americans, ruining their lives without the money or the ability or the platform to defend. Now it happens to the President of the United States, and enough people wake up and say, that's wrong. Whatever happened to due process? What happened to being able to confront witnesses against you, to be able to call witnesses for yourself, being able to make your case, your day in court? We always say that. Oh, don't worry, you'll get your day in court. As long as I get my day in court. We're not giving people their day in court. We're not allowing people to present evidence. Donald Trump was not allowed to present his entire case. Most of his case. So the judge manipulated what the jury was going to be able to hear. Same thing happened to the praying grandma. Same thing's happened to all these J6 defendants. When all of that is destroyed, we don't have a country. And we're going to reach a point where it's not able to be saved. We're in 1933 Germany right now. Eric Metaxas said this on the tavern when I had him in and we were talking about the movie that he just made, Letter to the American Church. And he said, Rick, we've got about a year. We're in the 1933 moment when Dietrich Bonhoeffer gives that famous speech to try to wake up the church. 26 years old when he did it. And he said, we don't have much time. And they didn't. It was 2 years for them. It was 1935, and Hitler had all the power he needed at that point. He was dictator at that. It was no going back. Well, I'm hoping it's not a year. I'm hoping it's 2 or 3 years. I really believe 2 years from now, 2 years and 30 days from right now, 2 years and 35 days from right now is the 250th birthday of the country. I think that's the amount of time we have. So it's not just the 2024 election. It's not just Donald Trump in November against Joe Biden. It won't be Joe Biden. It'll be somebody else. But it's not just this presidential election. It's, are we going to take advantage of this inflection point in our history? Are we going to take advantage of this window of opportunity where millions of people are now going, wait, what? They convicted him for what? An accounting error? They convicted him for what? This moment right now where the praying grandma has been convicted for going in the Capitol and praying for 10 minutes. This moment right now should awaken, or has awakened, millions of people. What are we going to do to rally those millions of people? I'm telling you, it has to start with education. I know that's not sexy, and everybody wants to grab the pitchforks and storm the hill. That's the dumbest thing you could do. Responding to this conviction with violence would be the dumbest thing you could possibly do. You would be begging for the whole movement to die and be shut down and true tyranny take over tomorrow. Do not be stupid and do that, okay? The way this works and the way we win is by starting with education of ourselves. It begins with you. It begins with me. We are the closest, the smallest level of government. Self-governance begins with the individual. So you get into a biblical citizenship or constitutional life class, and then you invite your family, your friends over, and you grow from there. And you start educating the people in your circle, and you start telling them about it. Say, what is it that's wrong with this Donald Trump trial?